Hey me gamers, it's Matt Miller from Me First Games, and today we're going to be starting a new Unity project. We're going to be starting an empty one, and I'm going to go over some of the details about the views and tools in Unity. We're basically going to start a new project. And you can hit new here, but if you actually select the drop down right here, you can select the version of Unity. I'm going to select the latest version. You see I have some older versions here I haven't updated yet. So we're going to start the new version here. And it's here where you get to create your empty game project. And this uses, there's 2D, there's 3D with some assets that'll be installed essentially. There's the high definition render pipeline and universal render pipeline, formerly known as the lightweight render pipeline. And you might be a little confused what to do. For beginners, we're going to select 3D. I actually use the universal render pipeline in almost everything I do now. But we can start here and you can add any of this stuff later. You also have access to the 2D elements and components. So it's basically to create an empty project. So we want to give the project a name. We're going to call it Foobar Platformer because we're going to build a platformer. Hit create and wait. Because this is an empty project, it's not going to take too long to get it going. Sometimes you'll notice with Unity it disappears, but it always comes back. Let me maximize my window, and your visual view is going to look a little bit different. So let me actually change that. This is a view you get with plus. This, if you're using Unity free, this is what it's going to look like. I like to use Unity Plus because it's dark. And you're going to have some different scenes here. You're going to have some different windows here. But first we want to visit the scene window. And the scene window is basically a preview into your game before it's running. So the game's not even running and we can look at your game. We could actually move things around. So if you right click, you can move the mouse around while holding in right click and see the world. You can also right click and use WASD, W-A-S-D, to move around. So you can look around and move around like you would in FPS, except you're flying. You can also swap the camera from 2D to 3D. You can mess with the shading. You can toggle audio on and off. Over here is the project window. It's going to show all the assets in your scene. We don't have any assets yet. You'll see we have some packages, and these are installed by Unity. Unity now has a bunch of packages, and the packages do specific jobs. So, for example, the timeline is a high-level cinematic tool. Instead of using animations, you can basically animate a bunch of different things in your scene. So we have this. No, the normal flow here is that you would create a folder. So we'll right-click, we'll hit create folder, and we'll do an underscore and hit project. And we can drag our scenes into there. And now under project, we can do anything we want. So in the hierarchy window, we're going to see all the game objects that are loaded in the scene. And these are actually in memory. So the assets are going to be on disk. They're going to be on your hard drive or your SSD. And we're going to load them from disk into memory. Because when they're in memory in your computer's RAM, we can use them and they be part of the game. There's a lot of creation tools. So I'm going to right click here. And you can see I can create an empty game object, or I can create these 2D or 3D. We can create effects and lights and audio and video and UI. But for now, we're going to add a cube. So we've added a cube, and I'm going to right click and use the W key to zoom in on it. And you'll see that the light's bouncing off of it. If we can toggle the lights on and off to see what it looks like without it. If I run the game, you don't see the cube, and you might be wondering why. It's because we have 3 game objects here. We have the main camera, and we have the cube. If we look at the main camera, it has a projection, and you can actually see where it's projecting. If you don't see this, you probably turned off gizmos. So this will toggle editor visuals on and off. So if you don't see something, good chance you accidentally turned it off. And there's all kinds of different settings you can set here. So if we select our main camera here in the hierarchy, you'll see we don't have anything selected. Nothing. We need to move the cube in front of the camera. Over here is the inspector window. And when you have a game object highlighted in the hierarchy or an asset highlighted down here, this window will change and show you the properties you can modify on that specific game object. So with the main camera, you see we have a transform. And a transform is basically a position, rotation, and a scale. And you'll see we have a camera component because it's the main camera. We have all these different settings and you don't need to worry about that. But what you do need to worry about is that we have a projection. And we'll see the camera preview right here, but we don't see the cube because the cube is way up there. So the camera works a lot like a camera in real life. If you don't point it at the thing you want to capture, it's not going to be seen. So just like in real life, if we wanted the camera to be right here, we would have to move this cube in front of it. And we can move it a couple ways. When we select the cube, we can select it in the scene editor. You can also select it in the hierarchy. I can double click it here and we'll jump to it. And then I can see that we're not even close. I could change the values here manually if I wanted to. So I select the, X value and I set it to 0. You'll see that it moved to position 0 on the X. I could also move it using these. These are access controls. So I can move it like this. If you don't see it, if you see something like this, this, or this, or this, that means you've basically hit one of the hotkeys for this toolbar. So we're going to select the move tool and we're going to move it down. And it's maybe a little confusing. It's like it's still too high. So what we'll do is we'll come here, we'll click the position, we'll hit reset, and now move it to 0, 0. So now this box is in 0, 0, and if we select our camera, we see it. It's a little hard to see, so I'll select the game window. We see it. There it is. And we could actually move this cube around. And I can't move it here because this is the game window. You can't edit anything in the game window. It's just for viewing. But I could still move the positions here. So you can click and drag left or right. So we'll move it up. We'll move it here. We'll also rotate it a little. See that? Whoa. We'll rotate it on the X. 45, 45. That's cool. And we can also scale it up. We can scale it up in different ways. Let's scale it up by 2. And then let's position it right there. So this is the cube. So if we go back to the scene editor, we now have this here. We have a camera rendering it. And this is basically the first step to getting used to Unity. So we've created a new project. We went over the hierarchy view. We went over the project view. We went over the scene view and the inspector. Those are the main windows you're going to be doing most of your work in. So this is the end of this tutorial. Next time we're going to be messing with some physics and getting things to move using a little bit of gravity. It's going to be lots of fun. Smash the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. I'm Miller from Me First Games, and there's going to be a lot more tutorials coming. Let's do it.